We welcome you once again to another edition of Inside Richmond Red Devils basketball with head coach Rick WEDLOW. We are in the new calendar year, and boy, things get started on a tough note coming up on Friday and Saturday. Newcastle and McCutcheon coming up this weekend, both games right here at the Tiernan Center. Coach, before we get started with the second half of this season, something you said a little bit ago that we just talked about off air is that the midseason evaluation and a chance to kind of sit down and talk with a lot of the players and just get some feedback from them. You give them some feedback, and it's really, I think, really good for the program, isn't it?
Absolutely. We wasn't completely disappointed in our finish in the WEDLOW. We felt like we showed some positives. So there was a lot of positives in the way we performed, and our last two games we failed to put 32 minutes together, and that's been the story of our team this year. Just haven't been able to put 32 minutes together. But I mean, I've seen a lot of growth in a couple of our younger guys, and I thought Christian showed displayed some flashes of being a really, really good player, and I've seen some glimpses of AJ performing at a high level, and so it was good to see. And Trey and Tylee did some nice things, and so Ricky shot the ball a little bit better from the perimeter, and he's growing. And Keyshawn, he didn't move forward. I mean, he didn't go completely back, but we talked about some things that maybe that'll make him better. But after the tournament, the next day we had a meeting as a staff, and we just put it all on the line. We put it all out there in terms of evaluating the program. We talked about how our practices are going and what things we can do to make practices more efficient and more effective. Obviously we had to go over some personnel situations. We went over from a program perspective of, how we want our freshmen and JV guys to, be behind the bench during games and not disappear, and the small things and the big things. And so we talked about our attire doing our pregame stuff, and we just went through everything. Yeah. And it was a great meeting, very progressive. And today after our practice, we practiced 10 to 12 today. We lifted for about 45 minutes, and while we lifted, we brought out each one of our varsity players out to just discuss some information with them. It was basically an evaluation, just kind of an assessment of where we are mid-season, and all the kids were very positive and very accepting of any criticism, but it wasn't a beat down session. Right. It was, a lot of it was just letting the guys know what their strengths have been and what their weaknesses are, and in terms of we asked all of our guys what they felt their role was, and what things they can do to help this team win. Talked to our seniors about just a straight open-end question. Why do you do this? What's important to you? How do you see yourself, helping this team win? And we got some open and honest feedback, and that was great. Good. Because at the end of the day, you want to win every game. You want to win sectionals and semi-state and championships, and that's the part of being competitors and being involved in competition. But at the end of the day, it's about it's about communication. It's about understanding a hierarchical structure. And me being the head coach, and we have our staff, and then we have our varsity, our JV, and our freshman team. And it's important that guys understand where they lie in that hierarchy. And but we're a family, and the strength of the team is that we are a true team. Yeah. And our guys have. We're not happy about our record, obviously, and we don't like. No one wants to be 4-8, and we don't like falling apart at the end of the ball games. But I would never, not say our guys aren't trying. Right. I think they're truly trying, and I think we're getting as close to the most out of them. I think there's more. There's more.
Yeah.
In all of them, from Trey, Tylee, AJ, Christian, Rick, Keyshawn, Colt, Daniel, all the way down the line. There's more there. And we just, as a staff, have to do a better job of getting the most out of their potential. We have to help them realize what their strengths are. We have to help them realize what their weaknesses are and the things they need to put some additional work on. We all need to put in some extra work. As a coaching staff, I mean, I'm always up watching, film and trying to put together plans and studying different coaches and their philosophies and their approach to practice, their approach to, timeout situations, adjustments at the half, but at the same time, I have to be a husband to my wife, and I have to be a father to my son and my daughter, and so at some point it has to stop. And so, I give everything I can to this game of basketball. The game of basketball saved my life. Yeah. When you come from the community or the environment, the neighborhood I grew up in, you grow up across the streets from Dory Miller Projects. You grow up without a father in your life. You grow up seeking how to be a man from the streets. And it was God's will and his blessings for me to, have enough upstairs to, be admittable to a great place like Earlham College. And so that experience there and my experience being a personal assistant with Glenn Robinson, an NBA level, spending time with Mike Dunleavy, having a good conversation with Butch Carters and, Tony Browns and, it's a lot of good guys that I've been fortunate enough to talk with. Steve Smith was always a great guy. Vin Baker was always good to me, and all these conversations, with Coach Cady and Matt Painter, and spending some time with Tom Izzo. It's been a blessing to cross paths with so many great people and have opportunities to share my thoughts about the game, accept others' thoughts about the game of basketball. And as I'm reflecting, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm very appreciative of what the game of basketball has done for me.
Sure.
And I think the game of basketball is doing a lot for these young men on our team. Yeah. Just the character that these young men have. They're great. I got a bunch of great students in the classroom, and we're looking forward to the second half of our season, and we're looking forward to Friday playing a good Newcastle team, and following that up with Saturday, a good McCutcheon team. And, we're going to put our best foot forward, and, we're going to be true to ourselves and things that we need to get better at, and realize the things we're good at, and, try to put it all together.
In fact, it was yesterday during some of the NFL games on Sunday, I should say, that Gary Kubiak is stepping down from the Denver Broncos. And the one thing that they said he had a hard time doing is turning it off. And let me ask you, do you have a hard time turning it off, saying basketball? And I did. When I was coaching, I had a hard time turning it off. It was all year long. It didn't even matter if it was July the 1st. I was thinking about basketball. Do you have a hard time turning it off?
Yes, I do. I mean, I love the game. I'm a student of the game. I really am. The last few years, I haven't stopped.
Yeah.
Before I got the head job, when I was Joe Luce's, varsity assistant, I was in the gym all the time with Joel, Day, Isaiah, Antonio, Bryce Brown, Brendan, Adrian Burns. I mean, I was the guy that when you wanted to get in the gym, I was the guy they called.
Yeah.
We were in the gym all the time. On top of that, I coached, Rick's AAU team with the George Hill program. So right after season, I jumped right into being an AAU coach. We did that all summer. We get a little time off in August. September, we ratcheted up. Back in them days, Joe, was afforded to have me and Cruz running a conditioning program. There were days he didn't have to come because he felt confident. He knew that, I had things under control. Cruz had things under control. And even Hinkie could take a break. Hinkie was a hard-working guy. And over the last few years, and since I've taken this job, I go home and I DVR a lot of games. I try to catch up and stay in tune with what's the new trends in terms of the style of play at the college level. I watch a lot of talented high school teams, and I just want to stay on top of the game of basketball and where the game is going. And every once in a while, my wife has to have a tough conversation with me about that I do have a wife, and I have kids, and I have to do a better job of managing my time. It's like being a college student, you have to manage your time.
Yeah.
You have to go to class. What's college without having some social life? What's college without being a part of an extracurricular, whether if you're not an athlete, being a part of the drama club or the student activities board or student government and things like that. And so you have to learn how to manage your time. And so, I try to be the best husband I can be. There were times, there was a stretch there where I hadn't talked to my mom in a week. And she let me have it. And so when mom calls and say, hey, I don't care what you're doing, you better pick up the phone and give me a call. My mom is a breast cancer survivor, and by the grace of God, she's still here with us, and she beat it. And you can't take stuff for granted, man.
Yeah.
And so we take things for granted, and I tell my son, we obviously, we got fourth place in the tournament. We lost the last two in a row. That Friday, Rick and I went up to the Hall of Fame game. He and I, Christian rode with us too. We went up there to the Hall of Fame game. Enjoyed two great ball clubs. I watched Coach Kiefer do his thing. Warsaw's coach. Warsaw is probably one of the most fundamentally sound teams you'll find across the state. You look at how Coach Shannon handles that New Albany team. I mean, that was a treat. And what about Logansport? I mean, they're a really tough ball club.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they come here. That'll give us a chance to be in a gym with them, and they're really good.
Yeah.
And, of course, you just sit around, spend some time with Rick and the wife. The wife had to work. She had to work New Year's Day. And so Rick and I went and caught a Pacers Orlando Magic game yesterday, do a little father and son stuff just away from basketball.
Yeah.
And so, I'm being a second-year head coach, man, I know there's a lot to learn. But I know that I care about this program. I care about the school. I care about this community. And sometimes I just have to realize when I get home, I just need to be dad. I just need to be a husband and maybe sneak some time, watch a little film when I can. But I woke up first thing this morning. I stayed away from film as much as I could the last couple of days. Get up at 7 a.m. I watched the second half of our South Bend game. I watched the second half of our Park Tudor game, which you see the deficiencies there. Because there were some good moments of our tournament. We showed some good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But we just wasn't able to, maintain intensity when our shots wouldn't fall, and that's going to be a big key is how do we maintain a defensive edge, getting stops when we can't buy a bucket.
Yeah.
And obviously I watched him Newcastle, glanced a little bit at McCutcheon. Don't want to get a little bit ahead of ourselves, but, looking at Newcastle, I think we match up well against them. They're a good ball club, and it's going to be tough. I mean, they shoot it well. They have Gillis inside. They actually have two inside players. You have Froge and Bumbalo doing well on the perimeter. And, right now I'm just trying to formulate the proper game plan for those guys. And I know they're putting some plans together for us. But, we had them individual meetings with our kids today. And I think we're going to be able to move forward from them individual meetings. And, started with our seniors, had some tough love for Christian. And I think he's doing some really terrific things, but we need him to be a better defender and a better finisher in terms of not finishing at the rim, but in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We need him to, and that's on us to maybe give him a little bit more breaks, still some minutes at the end of quarters, and maybe take him out a minute and a half at the end of the third, let him get that rest through the third quarter break, and then so he can finish fresh. And those are things that we have to do better. And but I still like our team.
Yeah.
I still think we can make a run during the sectional. I'm not going to sit here and make promises that we're going to win the section on this and that and the other. But I do feel like we'll be playing our best basketball then. I think we'll peak at the right time. We got some of these growing pains to learn from. But our kids, attitudes have been great. And our staff, our communication has been terrific. I really like my staff. Brian Bennett has been a godsend. Brad Wright, former Red Devil, he bleeds red and white. Caleb Snyder's been great. We have Kenton Shear, who's been a volunteer, just being around. Of course, we still get David Cruz pops in when he can. John Brown sticks his head in around when he can. And so we still have great supporters of Richmond basketball. We love to get more support for Richmond basketball because at the end of the day, it's about our kids.
Yeah.
The state of our community right now, there's a huge drug epidemic going on.
Yeah.
Not just Wayne County, Clark County, Lake County, Marion County, all the counties across the state.
Yeah.
And in order for us to keep this generation that are teenagers, this teenage group is the next victims of this horrific epidemic.
Yeah.
And so we need to keep them involved in extracurricular activities. We need to keep them involved in athletics. If they're not athletic, they need to be in the band. They need to be in the debate team. They need to be bowlers, swimmers. We need to really encourage kids to get involved in things and also have real conversations with these kids from a standpoint that, everybody is not college bound.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of successful people that are doing a lot better than myself right now that didn't do a day in college.
Yeah.
And they did it legally. They went out and either they started their own business. Yeah. They went right into the steel mills. They went right into UPS or FedEx or, a lot of different companies. They went right into the workforce and they're doing well. A lot of folks went to the military and they're doing well. Retired, put their 20 years in, retired, they got benefits, and now they're starting a whole new career. And so there's more to what I do than basketball because, I want all of our kids to be a part of my program, to live out and be successful. I don't want them to get out here in the community and get involved in drugs and violence and all the things that that are really, harming our communities right now.
Yeah.
So, man, that's been very important to me. It's just making sure our kids are involved and being a good role model. I talked to Conzo Martin the other day. My good friend is the head coach at Cal, and every time we talk, he said, Rick, just make sure you realize them kids, they watch how you move. Yeah. They watch how you handle yourself in good and bad. And so that's when I have to take a step back and realize that these tough moments, adversity, situations make us stronger, make us better, and make us tougher.
Yeah.
And, some of us will never folks that get to the top, they don't just get to the top without knowing what the bottom feels
That's
like.
right.
Well, a lot of people. There's some people, they just fortunate enough to get that. But a lot of people that get to the top and stay there, they know what it feels like. And so these times we're going through as a program in terms of, I won't say downtime. It's just moments of growth. And during this period of growth, there have been some tough situations. And it's very important for my mental health, physical health, and spirituality is to stay positive.
Yeah.
And realize that basketball is just a game. That I do have a wife. I do have a son that's a good student and a good kid. My daughter's doing well. She's working at St. Vincent's, and my mom is alive. And put it all in perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want it bad for Richmond community. But I like to see our Richmond community get out and get behind these kids because they could be doing some other things.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like my World Series winning Cubs. You know,
Just had to bring that up,
the
didn't
Cubs have been down for a long time.
you? Yeah.
But the Cubs tickets have been a hard ticket to get for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And those guys truly deserve a winner because they've supported their team.
Yeah.
And so we like to see our community supporters during the bad times. And so when the good times come around, they really appreciate that as well. Because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's not about Rick WEDLOW. I mean, you don't have to like me or care for what I'm doing, but it's about these kids.
Yeah.
It's about the next generation because the youth is the pride of Richmond. And let's continue to support these kids.
I guarantee they will. We'll tell you what, 2 games, Friday, Saturday, Newcastle Friday, McCutcheon on Saturday. We'll have both games right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports. Coach, good to see you again. And by the way, Happy New Year. All the great
Happy
to you
New
and
Year
everything.
to you too, Troy.
Again, I still believe you're going to be a team that's going to be
We're
one
going
to
to be a
look
good
for.
team, and I know I've been a little long-winded today, but as you see, I've had some time to get away from it.
Yes, and I'm glad you
do
did.
a lot of meditation and a lot of soul searching and compartmentalizing things and putting everything in perspective, because I'm a hard critic of myself, and I'm a hard critic of our program, and we're not bad because we got kids. We don't have kids showing up in the police blotter and kids out doing things that aren't good.
Yeah.
High risk social behaviors. We got a bunch of good kids, and they're doing their best to represent the school, and I'm very proud of them. We're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna keep grinding, and we gotta get a little meaner, a little tougher, a little nasty, and within good sportsmanship.
Yes.
Lines.
Yeah.
But don't settle for getting pushed around and not finishing at the end. So we'll become better finishers. We'll be better as the season goes on.
Guarantee by tournament time there'll be a team to watch. We'll tell you what, again, both games right here in Radio Troy Digital Sports. Newcastle Friday, McCutcheon Saturday. Come on out to the Tiernan Center and see the Red Devils and support them in 2 very, very tough basketball games. Hey, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time right here on Inside Richmond Basketball with head coach Rick WEDLOW on Radio Troy Digital Sports.